So about 3 years ago, I was really struggling to build my wardrobe. I had just had my second baby and gotten rid of a lot of my clothing because it didn't fit my body anymore due to all the postpartum changes. And I was having a really hard time finding clothing in my style that fit me properly, that was also within my budget. I had done a little bit of sewing before and I loved the idea of sewing my own clothes, but I had always had a lot of help when doing sewing in the past and hadn't had a lot of experience working the sewing machine that I remember like hardly at all. So the idea of sewing my own clothes, even though it sounded nice, just seemed really overwhelming. Not to mention the fact that I had 2 little kids, I was a full-time stay-at-home mom, and I didn't have a whole bunch of free time on my hand to make my own clothes. But I decided to give it a go and learn to sew, and now I spend my evenings making clothes for myself and for my kids. I firmly believe that if I can do it, you can do it too. I don't have any special skills or anything like that. I just had a strong desire to have clothes in my wardrobe that fit my style, fit my body, and that didn't cost me a fortune. So in this video, I'm going to share the steps I took to learn to sew my own clothes, no expensive courses or driving to classes. Before we get into it, hello, my name is Rachel. Welcome here. I am a mom of 3 and a passionate self-taught sewist. On this channel and on my blog, Self-Taught Sewist, I teach how you can learn to sew your own clothes as a beginner and build a wardrobe that fits your needs and lifestyle. If that sounds like something that interests you, I would love it if you would subscribe, and I'll leave the link to my website down below. So let's get into it. The first thing I really recommend is get an idea of what sewing is like by watching videos. What got me really into wanting to sew my own clothes was a YouTube channel. I stumbled across a video from a channel called Rosary Apparel. I think it was a tutorial of making a dress. I was hooked. Her dresses and skirts and everything she made was really in my style, and so it gave me an idea of what I could make. In her videos, she walks you through step by step and just gave me a really clear idea of how each piece was made. Gave me the feeling that maybe I could do this myself. There are so many great sewing channels out there, and watching sewing videos, it kind of gives you an idea of what goes into making each piece, the different steps that are involved, and what really goes into it, and it can give you a good idea if this is something you're actually willing to do and you're interested in, or maybe it's not quite your thing. There are so many different channels, like I said before, and each one has its own style, but I'll leave link below some of my favorites. If you've seen some videos, you kind of feel like this is really something you're interested in and that you want to start doing, obviously you're gonna need a sewing machine. It can be really tempting to start out with just getting a brand new fancy machine with all the special settings and accessories. But if you're just starting out, I actually recommend that you get one secondhand. There's a couple reasons for this. And first off is that if you're just starting out and you're not totally 100% sure that this is something you're going to be doing long term, sewing machines are expensive, and you probably do not want to be dropping hundreds of dollars on a sewing machine just to find out a month or 2 down the road that sewing is not for you. Another reason is that a lot of the newer sewing machines with all the special settings and everything, it can be a bit much for a beginner. It's best to start out with something simple, sturdy, and basic, and work from there. You can upgrade further along. This is what I did. I started off with a cheap machine I found on Marketplace. I think it was $75 I paid for it. It was a Janome machine. It was an older one. It did not have any of the special features or anything, but it worked. I was able to learn to sew on it, and it was a great starter machine for me. Marketplace is a great place to find a sewing machine. You could also look at your local thrift store. I have seen some at my local thrift store before. Of course, you want to test it before you take it home, make sure it actually runs. But that is a great way to find a cheap sewing machine. Or if you have a family member or a friend who has a sewing machine that they are not using, you could borrow it from them to kind of test out. And then once you've got the hang of sewing and you feel ready to upgrade, then you can buy one for yourself. So maybe you are completely brand new to the world of sewing. You're like, great, I need a sewing machine, but I don't like, what do I need in a sewing machine? I don't even know what I'm looking for. You really only need two things, and that's a straight stitch and a zigzag stitch. If you have those two things, you will be able to start your sewing journey no problem. If you're planning to use zippers, make some clothing that has zippers in it, you will probably need a zipper foot, and that is something that you can buy separately if it doesn't come with your machine. Some machines come with them. My first sewing machine I bought on Marketplace did not come with one and I had to buy one, but maybe if you're lucky, yours does. Other than that, you just need straight stitch, zigzag stitch, and you're good to go. This step is not the most fun step, but it is important, and that is get to know your machine. If you have the manual for it, I know you're like, no, don't tell me to read the manual. You should look through the manual. Getting to know your machine will be really helpful down the road. If something happens and it's not functioning properly, the manual has a lot of information on tips and tricks for troubleshooting and different things. The tension is off or different issues like that. Your manual is going to be a huge help. And even just getting to know where the settings on your machine are and what they mean. The manual can be really helpful for that. If you got a secondhand machine and it doesn't come with a manual, see if you can find the manual online. Some manuals can be found online, or if you can find a video of someone explaining the model you have, that can be really helpful. Another part of getting to know it can also be before you jump in and start sewing a piece of clothing, sewing your first project, is getting a piece of paper and drawing some circles or some curved lines or zigzags and practice sewing on the paper. Just take out the thread, just use the needle. It won't wreck your machine, it's totally fine. And just practice sewing on the paper and following the lines and getting an idea for feel for how to do curves and how to do like sew in a straight line and or like doing corners if you have to swivel and things like that. It can be really helpful with just getting a feel for how your machine runs and how to move the fabric. Now you've got your machine, you've played around with it a little bit, you kind of understand it. Now you're ready to find a pattern to start your first sewing project. And there are tons of patterns out there, so many to choose from. But you need to be careful that you don't pick something that's going to be too challenging on your first attempt and you just get really frustrated and it's like way too hard, way too much, and you just give up right away. Pick something simple and easy to start and you can work up to more advanced patterns as you go. My first pattern was, I think it was a crew neck for kids. I can leave it linked down below. It was decently basic. It was not, there were some parts of it that were a little bit complicated because I was newer, but not so overly complicated that I couldn't figure it out. And it turned out okay. There were definitely some mistakes. It was, yeah, a good starting project. I got a feel for sewing. There was nothing like, no buttons, no zippers, nothing crazy like that. I know Rosary Apparel, she has a pajama short free pattern and a tutorial. Pajama shorts are a great first one because nobody sees them. You just wear them to bed, so it doesn't matter if they don't look great. Another one would be doing a simple skirt. If you are buying a pattern online, I definitely recommend checking the reviews before you purchase because I've definitely seen some patterns like on Etsy that are labeled beginner friendly, and then I go into the comments and people are like, this was not beginner friendly. The instructions were difficult to read, they weren't written properly, and this was really hard. Maybe someone more advanced could figure it out, but I couldn't. Read the reviews first and just make sure that it's actually beginner friendly. The next step, and this is kind of the fun part, and that is choosing your fabric. For your first project, I definitely recommend you start out with something that has some structure to it, like quilting cotton. You don't want to work with something that's really lightweight and really flowy and loose, or anything that's really thick and bulky, because this will be challenging to work with. Quilting cotton is great because it's not too thick, it's not too thin, but it's got a nice firm structure to it. It's easy to work with, easy to maneuver, and it's a great first fabric to start off with. If you want to save a little bit of money, you could also go to the thrift store and start out with just a bed sheet. Go to the bedding section and pick out a nice bed sheet and use that for your first project. I would recommend avoiding polyester bed sheets as they are a bit more slippery and a little more challenging to work with. I think it was my second or third project. I got a polyester bed sheet from the thrift store and I didn't notice when I bought it or didn't think of it. And it was a lot more challenging to work with. I was having so much trouble. It was slipping around. It was really frustrating. I ended up just giving up and scrapping that project because it was not working out for me. Cotton is a great first fabric to start off with. There is a lot of stuff that you will just learn from doing it and from making mistakes. A lot of the lessons I have learned have come from making mistakes and having to rip things apart, because then I spent so much time sewing it together and I have to rip it apart. You better believe I'm not going to do that again. Of course, watching videos, you can learn so much from other people, but there is a certain amount that you are going to learn from just doing it. Don't push yourself. Just take your time, go slow, have fun, enjoy the process, and enjoy seeing how your projects go from your first one to your third one, and then your seventh one, and then your 10th one, and just how they improve and get better and better. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. Maybe you're feeling encouraged to go start learning to sew your own clothes yourself. If you did find this video helpful, I would love it if you would give it a like. And let me know in the comments below what got you interested in learning to sew. If this is something you're looking into, if you're wanting to start sewing your own clothes, what got you interested in the first place? I'd love to hear from you. Best of luck on your sewing journey, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.